Hello everyone. Welcome to Narty channel. This is a build of the unique shield Lidless Wall that I cleared Nightmare Dungeon tier 100. This shield makes me more tanky and its ability is amazing. When you have an active Bone Storm, hitting an unaffected enemy has a lucky hit chance 5 to 25% to spawn an additional storm at their location. Each of your active sacrifice bonuses increases the chance by 25% and a total additional bone storms you can have by +1. In this build I sacrificed all 3 minions and golem so I can have 4 bone storms. Bone Spear skill has high chance to critical strike which triggers Malignant Heart the Barber and spawns Bone Storm at the same time to add tons of subsequent damage, then enemies will explode. The shield Lidless Wall also has 4 hidden mechanics. Every time it spawns a new Bone Storm, this effect period increases by 10 seconds. So even though the Bone Storm around me already disappeared after the first 10 seconds, I can continuously spawn Bone Storms as long as the last Bone Storm doesn't stop. You have all passives of Bone Storm all the time, it increases your damage reduction by 15% and critical strike chance by 20%. And if you use the aspect of Shielding Storm, you will have a barrier all the time. After the first 10 seconds, Bone Storm around me disappeared. I can hit enemies at any range to spawn a Bone Storm if it's not in an attack range of any other storms. Hitting any breakable objects can also spawn a storm. This trick helps me keeps this effect going if I can't find any enemies. Now let's see a boss fight. This is a boss in Field of Hatred. The fight can end in just few seconds. This was a boss fight in Nightmare Dungeon tier 83 with 22 million damage. And this was the end of Nightmare Dungeon tier 100. Now I'm going to show you a Malignant Hearts I use. First, the Barber. When you critical strike the enemy, it will absorb all damage, increases damage by 14 to 15% for each second and explode. Decrepit Aura. Any enemy surround you will be cursed by Decrepify which slow them by 20% and reduce damage by 20%. Sacrilegious will use Corpse skill in your skill bar to nearby corpses. In this build I use Corpse Tendril and Corpse Explosion. The helmet is a unique item, Deathless Visage. If you cannot find this one, you can use a helmet with affixes of damage reduction, lucky hit chance while you have a barrier and plus rank of Decrepify for higher damage reduction and imprint the aspect of the protector. A tunic should have damage reduction and maximum life. The aspect I use is Shielding Storm. Each time the Bone Storm damage an enemy, you gain a barrier equal to 5% of your base life for 10 seconds. Gloves should have plus rank of Bone Spear, lucky hit chance and critical strike chance. The aspect of Serration will increase the critical damage of Bone skill by 1% per essence above 50. A leg guard should have damage reduction and maximum life. I use the aspect of Disobedience. Any hit I do will increase armor up to 30%. The boots should have movement speed and plus rank of Corpse Tendrils which reduces a cooldown of this skill. Even though the Heart Sacrilegious can use Corpse Tendrils automatically every 3 seconds, but it's better if we can use the skill to grab mobs as often as we need. The one-handed weapon I use is a wand to get more lucky hit chance. This stat is very important in this build because lucky hit triggers additional Bone Storm, reduces skill cooldown if hit enemies who affected by Decrepify, and generates essence if hit vulnerable enemies. The aspect I use with this wand is Splintering Aspect. An amulet should have plus rank of Evasion passive which increases critical damage of Bone skills against vulnerable enemies. I use the aspect of Grasping Veins which increases critical strike chance by 30% and you deal 60% bonus critical strike damage to enemies damaged by Corpse Tendrils. The rings should have lucky hit chance, critical strike chance, and vulnerable damage. I use Cadaverous Aspect, which increases core skills damage after consuming corpses, and Aspect of Exposed Flesh, which has a lucky hit chance to generate essence when hitting a vulnerable enemy. The basic skill is Bone Splinters. I use this to reduce skills cooldown by stunning them with corpse tendrils and use Bone Splinters repeatedly. Bone Spear is my main damage dealer. Upgrade it to maximum plus 4 more levels from gloves. Choose Paranormal Bone Spear to gain more 5% critical strike chance and 2 more bone shards shooting back if critical strike. Passive Unliving Energy to increase maximum essence by 9. More essence is more damage for bone skills by the key passive Ossified Essence located at the end of skill tree. By the time I made this clip, it was a bug that I could not learn this passive imperfectly balanced. So I just left it like this. Hewed Flesh, your damage has lucky hit chance 12% to create a corpse, which gives us more chance to grab an enemy mob, and Corpse Explosion for more chance to trigger lucky hit chance. I put just 1 point in Corpse Explosion because this build doesn't rely on its damage, but the third upgrade, Blighted Corpse Explosion, makes a Vile Miasma area to damage enemies over time in 6 seconds to get chance of lucky hit. I know I speak so fast like my teacher in a lecture class. Blood Mist is a survival skill. You disperse into a mist, becoming immune for 3 seconds and hurt enemies you touch. I upgrade this skill to the 3rd stage, Ghastly Blood Mist, to produce 3 corpses. This is useful when fighting a large mob or an elite with suppressor. I turn to a mist, run inside the suppressor, create corpse, then use corpse tendrils to stun it and shoot Bone Spear. The passive Grim Harvest gives you 6 essence for each corpse consuming. Fueled by Death, you deal 9% increased damage for 6 seconds after consuming a corpse. By the effect of the Heart Sacrilegious, you automatically consume corpses all the time. Next is this skill, Decrepify. Curse enemy to slow by 40% and deal 20% less damage for 10 seconds. By the power of the Heart Decrepit aura, you will automatically curse every enemy inside the aura without spending essence, and you don't have to put the skill on a skill bar. I upgrade it to the 3rd stage, Abhorrent Decrepify. Enemy hit while affected with Decrepify has a lucky hit chance 15% to reduce cooldown of every skill by 1 second. Death's Embrace. Close enemies take 6% more damage from you and deal 9% less damage to you. Death's Reach. You deal 12% increased damage to distant enemies. Corpse Tendrils, you use a corpse to pull enemies in and stun them for 3 seconds. The 2nd upguard also slow enemies before pulling in. And the 3rd upgrade also makes them vulnerable. Next is a bunch of bone skill passives. Starts with Serration. Bone Skills has 0.9% increased chase of critical strike per 30 essence you have upon cast. At level 100 my character has 200 maximum essence, so it's 5.4% increased. Compound Fracture. After Bone Skills critical strike 10 times, your Bone Skills deal 15% increased damage for 5 seconds. Evasion. Bone Skills deal more 30% increased critical strike damage to vulnerable enemies. Next is an ultimate skill, Bone Storm. You cast a storm of bone, do damage enemies around you for 10 seconds. The 2nd upgrade increases your damage reduction by 15% and the 3rd upgrade increases your critical strike chance by 20%. Standalone, increase damage reduction by 18%. Memento Mori, the effect of sacrifice bonuses from Book of the Dead increases by 60%. Finally, the key passive, Ossified Essence. Bone Skills deal 1% increased damage for each essence above 50 you have upon cast. For example, if I have 200 essence, my Bone Spear will deal more 150% increased damage. Book of the Dead. I sacrifice Skeleton Warrior to increase critical strike chase by 5%. Skeletal Mage I should to increase maximum essence by 15 points. Golem is sacrificed to increase critical strike damage by 30%. The final piece is the Paragon board. The first board uses the glyph exploit. Then the second board is Bone Graft. Get this rare node and magic nodes around it. Then this one and the legendary node, Bone Graft. Then we go to this rare node and the glyph essence. And this rare node. The last rare node of this board can be purchased later. Now the third board is Scent of Death. Get this one first to increase damage against healthy enemies, then the legendary node, Scent of Death. And the glyph for this board is Imbiber. This glyph increases attack a lot if you're healthy. Then this one, and this one. The fourth board is Flesh Eater. This rare node is a must because it increases your damage to elites and bosses. And the glyph, Sacrificial, also increases the effects of magic nodes, so you gain more 36% damage to elites. Finally, the fifth board of Wither, but I don't purchase this legendary node because no points to do that, so I go this direction to increase shadow resistance and the glyph, Control. Then this rare node to gain enough intelligence for the glyph. My conclusion, this build is fun, a little bit tanky enough to not die in one hit, except for the deadly great bow. I don't have to stay hitting enemies till they die, I just shoot one bone spear and run away to let the barber and the storm finish the mob, so the gameplay is fast. The downside is that I have to move fast enough to continuously spawn bone storm before 10 seconds gone. Sometimes I feel nervous if the chain would break, which I have to wait for 40 seconds cooldown of bone storm skill. But rushing too fast may lead me to death as well. Running with this build couldn't farm items much and may not suitable for some maps that you have to open doors often. If you like this video, please press like and subscription. More builds of necromancers and druids are coming as I play these two classes most. If you have any questions, you can comment and I will answer soon. Thank you. Goodbye but not farewell.